What is up, guys? It's your boy, the 15th Cactus, and today we've got some brand spanking new Destiny 2 news, courtesy of the Bungie weekly update that has just gone live, revealing official information. And so, let's get started. Now, first things first, what's been going on this past week for Destiny 2? Well, quite a lot. Now, last week, we actually didn't get the usual weekly update because of the Bungie situation. There was layoffs, report of a massive fall in predicted revenue, all of that stuff. I've done videos on that, guys. Just check the channel and you'll see what I'm talking about. But moving forward to this week, with the weekly reset, something else very big happened. A kind of secret quest line went live where you had to figure out to go and get a new opaque card, which unlocked new areas within the Imbaru Engine mission, which eventually led to this crazy puzzle, and if you solved that puzzle, you got some exclusive rewards, as well as got to unlock a brand new cutscene, which teased the upcoming season. So if you want to see how to do all of that for yourself, the guide on how to do so is linked right up above. But then, after that cutscene was in the wild, and not too long after people solved this puzzle, Bungie officially announced the upcoming new Season 23 was actually going to be called Season of the Wish, and you can see the promotional image for it right here. So, the Ahamkara is back, Riven is maybe back, or another Riven. I'm not too super deep on the lore, but all I know is that I've killed this thing a couple times, and I'm ready to kill it again. However, it almost looks like it's on our side this time around. That could be very interesting, but definitely some hype was caused because of that, and I do want to say that, you know, you can be disappointed with how Bungie is handling stuff, and still happy and excited for good content and potentially a good upcoming new season. We really don't know too much about this new season. Those things are not like mutually exclusive. It seems like a lot of people, especially on like Twitter, want you to fall into two camps. You either hate Bungie and Destiny and everything they do, or you love them and will not accept criticism. And I know this from someone who is literally called a Bungie shill and then a Bungie hater depending on the day. So like, it can't possibly be both. You can have a wide array of opinions on a certain subject. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into the brand new information presented within the TWAB. And most of this week's update is dedicated to the Crucible Strike team and some of the changes coming next season and beyond. So earlier this year, Bungie announced the creation of a Crucible Strike team to improve the overall PvP experience. So here is the road to Season 23, and the features they're looking at: rewards, matchmaking, playlists, and modes. So, first off, they say, let's talk playlists. So one of the first things you'll notice in Season 23 are updates to the Crucible menu that you can see right here. So they're reintroducing a new 3v3 quick play node, introducing a new 6v6 quick play node that consists of a 6v6 party and relentless, rotating control modes in a new 6v6 unranked playlist, and revisiting which modes rotate through each node. Now, moving on from there, they say the update nodes will prioritize different matchmaking elements, integrate varied gameplay rotations, and some will host PvP events like Iron Banner or Trials of Osiris. Here's how each node functions. So you have 3v3 quick play, prioritizes connection and latency, rotates through weekly modes, will start in Season 23 with Elimination and Showdown. Trials will take over this node when active, so during the weekend, you can't just go into 3v3 quick play, it's going to be Trials. Then, for 3v3 ranked, prioritizes rank for matchmaking, but if rank and skill are widely different, it blends the two. As an example, an adept skill player who is at platinum rank will be playing with other platinum ranked players. However, if an adept skill player is playing down at silver rank, they may be placed in gold rank or low platinum rank games. It affects competitive division rank and random playlists, including survival, which is a higher weight, and countdown rush, which is a lower weight. Now, for 6v6 unranked, you have prioritizes connection, latency, and skill for loose skill-based matchmaking, and it rotates through different variations of control, including control, checkmate control, and sparrow control, which I guess is a new one here, guys, and momentum control. Iron Banner will take over this node when it's active. So for the whole week, you can't play 6v6 unranked, I guess, when Iron Banner is going on. Then you have 6v6 quick play. So it prioritizes connection and latency, rotates through weekly modes, consolidates party and relentless nodes. And then free for all prioritizes connection and latency. Then you have Crucible Labs and private lobbies. And then Bungie provides some more in-depth explanations into those playlists, so you can see 3v3 right here, you can read if you want, then 6v6 right here, and then we get into the interesting part, Sparrow Control. So they say, one of the rotating control modes is Sparrow Control. It's control, but with sparrows. The bug became a feature. We hope you'll enjoy it on select weeks of Season 23. Keep an eye out for the unique medal that will only be attainable during those weeks. This mode's playlist maps will be curated and weighted towards larger maps. Honestly, having the ability to potentially spawn a sparrow in something like Disjunction could actually make it better potentially. Now moving on from there, we have a Checkmate here. We plan to make Checkmate Control the primary control mode for the first few weeks of Season 23. To be transparent, Checkmate has revealed and highlighted a community desire for a refined sandbox in the Crucible. We eventually want to take some of those lessons learned and apply them to the base Crucible experience, not just as a labs mode. We're not ready to slap Checkmate onto everything just yet, but we are ready to expose the modifier to a larger audience and gather more feedback and data. And you can see some of the changes that are going to be related to Checkmate in Season 23 right here. Moving on from there, the next big subject is matchmaking and skill. So Bungie says, in addition to skill compression, we are making more adjustments to how our matchmaking and skill systems work on the back end. In previous posts, we mentioned a fix for lobby balancing, which has been a huge issue. And at last, the time has come. In Season 23, the lobby balancer should operate more like a snake draft, where Team A gets the first pick, Team B gets the next 2 picks, then Team A gets 2 more picks, and so on until there are no players left. Fire teams can sometimes throw off the balance of the lobby, and while this system attempts to resolve that at the best way possible, there are edge cases where the balance will not be perfect. We're keeping an eye on this going forward. So that's actually pretty huge, because right now, if you have a super high skilled player on one team, it throws all of the low skill players on that person's team, so that one person has to carry everyone, and they're obviously going to lose against a team of all average skilled players. So this seems like a much more common sense way to do it, where it just splits players up, going back and forth through the teams, so you have a more diverse group of skill ranges on each team. There's also some more changes that, of course, you can pause and read for yourself if you're interested. But moving on from there, we have map spawning. So in the October 12th update, we touched on previous spawning changes that were reverted. Back in Season 21, we experimented with certain spawn changes for Clash and Control. While the changes did achieve more variance and unpredictability in the spawn points, it did not prevent players from spawning out of sight from other players or dangerous projectiles such as supers. Since then, we've begun experimenting with new features for our spawning system. These will hopefully give us that variance and unpredictability while also avoiding spawn trapping and peaking issues. So these features are still in development, but we'll definitely revisit this topic soon. In the meantime, let's talk about the changes that are meant for this release and the immediate future. We have some tunings lined up for several maps, so Midtown, Meltdown, and Endless Vale. These changes will be more subtle along the lines of previously mentioned Altar of Flame and Cauldron changes. While these changes alone are not intended to completely solve spawn trapping issues, they are intended to work in conjunction with a set of changes planned down the line, and the goal is to improve the overall experience. Okay. Now moving on from there, we have let's talk competitive. So first of all, we have the competitive rank adjustments. In Season 23, we're making some changes on how rank points are adjusted post-match. In general, we are simplifying the formula and putting more emphasis on wins and losses. The major points are as follows. We are removing the performance factor. Wins and losses are what matters, and that's it. Then we are removing inflation protection. We will no longer reduce your rank point gains if your rank exceeds your skill. We will retain deflation protection, so if your rank is below your skill, it will still accelerate you upward. Now moving on from there, we have promotions and regulations. We are removing promotion and regulation series requirements for all divisions except Adept and Ascendant. Going forward, you will only need to prove your skill when entering the most elite ranks or keeping yourself from dropping out of them. For example, if you are Platinum trying to reach Adept, you will enter a promotion series. Conversely, if you are Adept dropping down into Platinum, you will be able to defend your place via regulation series. Okay, that's interesting as well. Now moving on from there, we have some mode rules. So they say they briefly discussed the two competitive modes above, Survival and Countdown Rush. Now here's what's changing. For Survival, they've increased the respawn count from 4 to 6. And then for Countdown Rush, points to win have decreased from 6 to 5. We decreased the round time from 120 seconds to 90 seconds. Due to the round time decrease, we also decreased the heavy ammo spawn from 90 seconds to 60 seconds. Respawns and revives are enabled and unlimited, and if a game goes 4-4, the final round will have the elimination rule enabled. This will show up as sudden death. Now moving on from there, we have a new section. Let's talk Trials of Osiris rewards. So they say in Season 23, we're going to make a small change to Trials rewards in preparation for some larger changes coming alongside the final shape. More details on that later. In the meantime, we're going to be adding a set of small weekly rewards that trigger depending on how many wins you get in a row before your card becomes flawed. There will be one each for 3, 4, 5, and 6 wins on a card, and if you get a higher win total first, you'll get all the tiers below it too. These rewards will be granted in the post-game loot screen when your card becomes flawed, and they are currently set up to grant. So if you have 3 wins, you get Trials Armor, 4 wins, 5 Enhancement Cores, 5 wins, a Trials Weapon, and 6 wins, 3 Enhancement Prisms. These rewards are only the first step in our journey to make Trials a more rewarding experience for those who cannot go flawless consistently. And that could actually be very cool because like nothing is worse than losing on a 6-win card, but now if you do, at least you're going to get a weapon and all of these different rewards rather than absolutely nothing. Now, moving on from there, they say we also increased the drop rate of Adept weapons on 7-win cards after Flawless, back up to the level it was when the Flawless pool existed. In addition to those reward changes, we're also going to be running a weekend of Trials Labs where the Checkmate modifier will be active in the playlist. We look forward on seeing how that shakes out. Yeah, people seem to love Checkmate, so that in Trials is really interesting. Now, moving on from there, guys, we have another section here on competitive rewards. So Bungie says, when we introduced unique weapons for competitive rewards, we were keen to make sure that folks had very cool, powerful, and ultimately attainable weapons for competitive play right out of the box. Lo and behold, that's exactly what we got, with Rose and Mercurial Overreach both showing up among the top 10 weapons used in Trials across many weekends these last few seasons. However, there's a pretty clear elephant in the room. Anyone who wasn't there for those first 2 initial seasons doesn't have access to some of the most reliable guns in the sandbox. Once those weapons have gone away, enter competitive focusing. This focusing system breaks some new ground for us. We want to make sure that we don't lose the identity of these weapons as being part of the Crucible, and most importantly, as a reward for climbing the competitive ladder. It also stood to reason that if folks were going to earn these weapons, we'd want them to be active with the competitive scene the same way players earned focus rewards from other modes like Iron Banner, Nightfall, or Trials. We considered the possibility of another cipher or using a different currency that tied into the identity of these weapons, such as Ascendant Alloys. Ultimately, we decided that since these rewards were for testing yourself against tough opponents and working your way up the ladder, participating in competitive should be the key to earning them. So starting next season, all retired competitive rewards will be available to focus from Shaxx's Legacy Crucible focusing menu. However, it's not as simple as having the engrams on hand. Shaxx expects you to test your metal too. You will only be able to focus them once you have completed your placement matches. And unlike other focusing options, you will be limited to a number of weekly focuses based on the highest rank you've achieved so far in the season. And you can see the table for that right here. So if you're Ascendant, you can focus 7 things each week. And if you're Copper, only 1. Now, Bungie does say the cap on how many you may focus can be changed mid-week, but only if you rank up. That is actually pretty interesting, guys. They also do say, since Guardians are already committing themselves to regular engagement in competitive play, the going rate for focusing these weapons will be 3 Crucible Engrams and 25,000 Glimmer. Alright, now, they do have a section called More to Come. As mentioned above, this isn't everything we're shipping in Season 23 and beyond. There's, of course, Iron Banner Tribute, Relic Mode revisions, and the reprisal of the Dreaming City Crucible map, the Citadel. We're looking forward to sharing additional updates in the future, including increases in ritual activity post-match rewards, more Glimmer and enhancement cores. They say there's a lot happening and there's plenty more we want to do, so please pardon our dust as we continue improving the Crucible experience. Alright, well, Crucible aficionados, let me know in the comment section down below, do you guys think these changes are enough to get you like a lot more invested in PvP? Do you think there needs to be more? I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. But moving on from there, guys, we actually have a preview of the new ritual weapon coming next season. So here it is. It's called the Chivalric Fire, and it will be the first Void Caster sword. It can roll with the Void perk combo of Repulsor Brace and destabilizing rounds, which will give high uptime on Void Overshields. Now, it also has Attrition Orbs, which is a new perk in Season 23. So what that does is dealing sustained damage creates an Orb of Power. Now they say, of course, this combos perfectly with Relentless Strike, so I guess it also comes with Relentless Strikes. And they say, as always, you can take your pick on how you earn it, choosing between Vanguard, Crucible, or Gambit, and there's going to be ornaments that you can unlock as well. So here is the Vanguard ornament, here is the Gambit ornament, and then lastly, guys, here is the Crucible ornament. Now, certainly, this is actually pretty interesting. Making an orb from continued damage, well, that is perfect against a boss. So that means that you can get armor charge like while you're DPSing a boss, which could actually be very valuable. Now, moving on from there, guys, we have some changes to the weapon pools in Season 23. So here's a look at what's coming and what's moving on. So in Trials, what's leaving, the Immortal Submachine Gun and Astral Horizon Shotgun, those are not going to be dropping next season. And what's new, the Incisor Strand Adaptive Trace Rifle. Oh my goodness, a Strand Trace Rifle. I think that's the first one ever. That could be very cool. And returning the Eye of Soul Kinetic Adaptive Sniper Rifle. Now moving on from there, for Iron Banner, the Dark Decider Auto Rifle and the Ganora's Axe Slug Shotgun are leaving, and what's new, the Lethal Abundance Strand High Impact Auto Rifle. So we have some Strand Auto Rifles, not a high impact one, however, and then what's returning is the Reese Walker Kinetic Lightweight Shotgun. It wasn't gone for very long, it is like an infamous shotgun, a lot of people really love that for PvP. Now moving on from there for Nightfalls. So the Buzzard Sidearm and the fan favorite, the Swarm Machine Gun, are leaving a little bit of a meme there because the Swarm really doesn't see a lot of play. And what's new, the Undercurrent, which is an arc wave frame breech loaded grenade launcher. Now it's going to have to compete, guys, with the infamous Forbearance grenade launcher from the Vow of the Disciple raid. That's another arc breech loaded grenade launcher. It can get Ambitious Assassin and Chain Reaction, so good luck competing with that, but if it does, it'll literally be one of the best PvE weapons in the game, so potentially exciting there. And then what's returning is the Uzume RR4 Arc Adaptive Sniper Rifle. This is actually a pretty decent sniper, especially back in the day. You could actually get that extended magazine perk that came on all of the different, like backup mag or whatever it was called. It came on all of the different Nightfall weapons, but that would increase your magazine permanently to 7 rounds, like no matter what. That was actually pretty darn cool. And so guys, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKakis. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.